Our last question is about whether you have any views on Scottish climate action and policy and how it will be affected by COP26.
So we've had a really odd situation at the moment with the UK government's policy being announced, which is great and very exciting. And you'll see that they embraced a huge amount or number of the Climate Change Committee's recommendations, which is exciting. However, because of the Scottish elections, the Scottish government haven't been able to say anything or do anything. So we're in this kind of weird limbo at the moment where we're not entirely sure what is going to happen. And the outcome of that Scottish government election will influence what will probably happen. It has been a very odd COP26 kind of lead up because of the, I think I'm fair in saying, tension between the UK government and the Scottish government. If this is a UK run event, but it's in Scotland, so it's been a kind of a tense time, and you couldn't get two more different governments either at this time to be in that situation. So Scotland generally have really world-leading climate policy. Our targets are some of the most stringent anywhere, which is great. And what we seem to do well is we show how to make it happen, put it into practice. You know, is it 98% of our grid is now electrified, or something like that? The latest figures I've seen. We missed 100, but gosh, that's not bad, right? And so that's exciting. But what really Scotland need to do now and are doing is focus on the influence we can have elsewhere, because Scotland's tiny globally. So what we're good at is being instigators of change, showing it's possible, but also using our industries. And, you know, University of Edinburgh here has so many spin outs and so much research into different renewable energies that can be used in different places. Tidal is an exciting one. The whole of Orkney is an amazing place that trying to have this whole case study of how a whole community can function in off-grid, well, not off-grid, off fossil fuels, but also in a really local community sense. And yes, it works because it's an island, but there's a lot of communities that are actually relatively isolated, if not an island, that could work for. So I don't know if I gave you any specific answers there, but I think it's an exciting time to be in Scotland and working on these areas. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what comes after the election, so we know who's in government and to see what the policies will be out of that. I'm not expecting any dramatic changes. There's probably not much dramatic they can do because the dramatic stuff's come before. I do think that Scotland typically have a more, maybe the word is rounded approach to thinking of climate change as something more than just an environmental issue. So the just transition, the green jobs ideas of a well-being economy, you may have been following those. If you haven't, Google well-being economy. I mean, that group are doing some impressive work on saying, why are we measuring our success by a number called GDP? We need to measure it by our ability as a society to thrive and be happy and healthy. So I think Scotland have a little bit of a more rounded view, and I think we should be trying to encourage that view globally. Because if we don't have a just transition, if you haven't got food to put on your table for your kids, you're not analysing where your electricity is coming from. You are not making choices. If you don't have choices because you can't actually get a job, then you're not thinking, how can I save, the world and affect climate change? So we need to bring people along for the ride to show them that this better world we're creating is for them as well, not just for those of us, and I point to myself here, who are privileged enough to live in a home, to have food on the table.